Welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting experts straight talk in your ear. These podcasts deliver great interviews with industry leaders and Zweig Group's 3 decades of invaluable research, leadership, management, marketing, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter Podcasts let you develop personally and professionally, wherever you are.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and I am here today with none other than Mark Zweig himself. He's been away for a couple of weeks, but we finally got him back in the fold, and we're going to have Mark join us for this episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. We're going to talk about some really interesting topics that I think are going to be germane to anybody that is running or is part of the leadership of a design firm, and will kind of help you start thinking differently about how you approach your business and how you do what you do on a regular basis. So Mark, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Appreciate having me here.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of weeks ago in the Zweig Letter, you wrote an article on differentiation in a crowded field. And so why don't we talk a little bit about that? There are a couple of areas specifically that you highlighted were important to consider and think about when it came to how you differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition. You mentioned pricing, you mentioned HR strategy, information sharing, bonus program, and marketing. But why don't you just talk overall about why you even wrote this article in the first place? What kind of spurred you to want to bring this up?
I wrote it because there's just, so many companies that all look the same.
Yeah.
There are 90, 100,000, whatever it is.
It's 100,000, I think, design firms.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's just, so many companies out there, and they're all so similar.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I just think everybody seems to follow whatever the other guy did that started their company, who did things the way the first place he worked at or she worked at.
Yeah.
And it's just, and people are very risk averse. And so they don't want to do anything that hasn't been done a million times before. It has to be proven. So they just do everything the same way. Their marketing looks the same. Their office looks the same. Their hours are the same. Their pricing's the same. The way they put their plans together is essentially the same. It's all the same. And so the result of that is the only thing they're competing on is price. It's a way to sort of, as some of my friends in other industries say, they call it a race to the bottom to see who's got the lowest price.
Right.
And because that's the only thing you can sort of differentiate yourself on is the cost of doing business with your firm. That's a terrible position to be in.
It is. And
it's crazy. And when you look at if somebody sends out an RFP, how many responses they get, or, it's just, you better be thinking about differentiation. It's a mature industry. Any mature industry means there are lots and lots of clients and customers, and there are lots of providers. And the way, to be successful is through being different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's just not the nature of most people in this business. They're professionals. They're trained in their discipline. That's where they stand.
Yeah.
And and that's the way they do things.
It's like I like to call it, and people laugh when I say this in some of the trainings that I've done, it's that old wineskin mentality that kind of pervades in this industry, and some things never change. It's that's not how we've always done things response. And, you hear that refrain over and over and over again, and you wonder, well, when is change going to happen? And so I think it's interesting. So kind of break it down. Why don't you give us just, and you gave us some key points in that article that you wrote, but, differentiation in a crowded field as it pertains to pricing. What are your thoughts on that specifically? Since you brought
it's
that
not,
up.
I mean, the actual price is one thing, but the methodology is another.
Okay.
Are you doing stuff on a fixed fee when everybody else is doing it hourly? Are you doing things on a percentage of construction when everybody else is doing it fixed fee? Are you doing things, trying to be different in some way that provides some sort of advantage to your client and yourself? I think is very important. I see people doing this in, things like design build projects where they've got some performance related compensation in there for the design firms, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You just got to be different. Why do it like everybody else? That's all I'm saying. If you price like everybody else, then you look like everybody else.
Right. So, and then you also mentioned HR strategies that can be employed to kind of differentiate yourself from everybody else out there. What are one or two HR strategies that come to mind that you can think of top of mind that really firms should be thinking about?
Well, there's a lot of, in my article, I talked about the whole idea of semi-annual raises, or annual raises. Maybe you should be looking at people's pay quarterly.
Yeah.
Maybe you should look at it monthly. I'm not saying everybody gets a raise. There are people out there like, I can't give a raise every month, Zweig.
Yeah.
I can hear it right now. I'm not suggesting that you do, but maybe you should.
Yeah.
And does it have to be, $2,000 a time? No, it doesn't. Maybe it's $200. I don't know, but it's a sign to somebody that they're doing something better.
I think it gives people hope.
And they're going to do better.
Yeah. I think it gives people hope too, in terms of how they're operating and that they're on the right track and that they want to keep going in that direction. So it's just positive reinforcement. But,
there's just a million different, things I think you can look at. We have one client that the entire firm is a virtual office. That's a different HR strategy.
Yeah.
We don't have to gather everybody together. They spent their money developing the communication system that they can use that allows everybody to work together remotely.
Right.
And they don't feel they need to get everybody together physically all the time.
Right.
And it seems to work for them. I'm not saying it would for everybody else, but it certainly would be a differentiator when it goes to hiring, just like raises every month potentially would be a differentiator if you're out trying to hire people.
Right.
I just think you need to think about things differently. Stop following the crowd blind, mindlessly.
So is it not, though, just as you kind of going over these first 2 points, it's not so much a break the mold as it is just kind of really think about what you're doing and figure out what might resonate more with your employees.
Yeah,
right?
maybe that's it. But maybe sometimes you need to break the mold in order to do that.
It can work. I mean, we have some clients that have broken the mold as far as some of these items are concerned, and they're actually doing quite well.
Yeah.
So what about information sharing? I know this is something that's really important to you.
Yeah, it's still the same old story. Most companies, the owners are like, well, we keep all this information. We don't share it with anybody. We give them bonuses once a year. They don't know where the number came from. They don't know how well we're doing. If we tell them how well we're doing, they think we're doing better than we are, and they all want more money. If we don't tell them how poorly we're doing, they all think we're going out of business and that they should be finding new jobs immediately. And, so we don't share anything. They would understand it, whatever. That's all the old school thinking.
Yeah.
And, the newer school would be that you really try to keep people informed on every aspect, every metric you can track as to how that business is performing. And then if you do that, people feel better. There's more trust with management, and they'll perform better because they know what the critical measurements are.
Right.
So sharing everything. Yeah. Does everybody do that? No. Is it a differentiator to give everybody a statement that really explains how the business is doing? Yeah, I think it's a differentiator. It's still the minority of companies do it.
Right. Well, and I know we have practiced that for years. I mean, we've always put out a daily report actually, and it gets updated on a regular basis, so we know where we stand at all times. I actually think it's a morale booster too, for people to see how the firm is doing and what areas of the company are really growing, and I think it's quite helpful.
Yes.
So
I agree.
So tell me a little bit about your thoughts about a bonus program. I know you feel strongly about that, and how you employ one. I mean, we when and where possible pay a bonus here on a monthly basis if there is a bonus to be paid.
Yes.
But you know, some firms like to wait till the end of the year to give a bonus or something along those lines. So it's probably the same idea with that as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the tradition is once a year with no explanation.
Yeah.
And you get it in your Christmas card or whatever.
So walk if a firm owner is listening to this right now and he's like, okay, great. Well, Mark, how would I institute a monthly bonus plan? Give me the simple rubric that you would engage.
Just be like cash basis P&L.
Okay.
And you could pay a certain percentage out to all employees. You could decide what that is at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And then maybe you've also got another pool that goes to your sort of key employees.
Okay.
In that you set that percentage, and then their percentage, the percentage their salary represents of the total salaries of whoever's in the pool would determine how much money they get. If the place loses money on a cash basis, it rolls into the next month, and that has to be made up
right
before you pay anything out.
Okay.
And, what does that do? It gets everybody focused on, we got a bill, we got to do stuff, we got a bill for it, we got to collect it.
Right.
If we do, we share in the rewards immediately.
If we don't,
we don't make any extra money.
Yeah.
Everybody likes it. You want to get a couple $100? You want to get $500? You want whatever this month, or did you like it better when you got nothing?
Yeah.
Okay. It's. I think it connects people so much more closely with the performance of the enterprise that it's and people appreciate it. There's no mystery.
Yeah.
To the program. Doesn't have to be a lot of money, It can be, though, if you're really performing, it can be a lot of money.
Right. Right.
But if not, if people would rather have a lot of money than a little money, then they need to make it perform better. That's the whole idea.
I think it's one of those things where you just it's like priming the pump. The better you do, the more you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And if people see that and you can taste it, you can taste a little bit of it every month as opposed to being told, hey, we'll see you in December and we'll take care of you then. It's like,
but that
wow,
takes a lot of faith. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It may not happen.
It may not happen, especially for younger people. They definitely would probably prefer to get something now as opposed to later. So
I hear a lot of people, they'll object to that. They'll be like, well, no, we want to give something big once a year. Okay, well, the experts would tell you that's not generally best.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
You're too far away from whatever happened. There's too long to wait.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's better?
Yeah.
More frequency is better.
And
gets people more tuned in to the performance so they don't have a crappy year.
Right. And what if the firm had a bit of a stumble towards the end of the third or early fourth quarter, and with the hopes that we were going to pay something big at the end of the year. Yeah. So all that goodwill that was built up is now gone. And then you have nothing to show for it come December.
The flip side of that would be, though, people would say, well, what happened if you lost money, then you shouldn't have paid out the money that you paid out.
Right.
Okay. That's the flip side of that. But I think if you're decent managers and you're doing a good job, you're going to be able to manage all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the advantages are far better than the disadvantages.
Okay.
Again, though, it builds trust with management. And when you go to hire people, if you tell them you have a monthly bonus program, think how different that makes you sound as an employer, because very few people are doing that.
Yeah. Most peer firms of the people that are listening to this podcast don't do that on a monthly basis. So
they don't do it. They're doing the stuff the same old way.
Yep.
Whatever it is, it's all the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
And we sit around going, we shouldn't be considered a commodity. Well, you treated yourself as one.
Right.
You made yourself a commodity by the way you do business.
Yep. So, and then finally, you mentioned marketing. What in your mind would be one of the main key differentiators for you in a crowded field from a marketing perspective? What would you do differently?
There's a million different things. I think having different hours, maybe being open on Saturday, being open earlier and later than somebody else, a brand name that people can remember. CH2M Hill was a great name. I was surprised that Jacobs dropped that. I was talking with one of my friends at CHM Hill last week, and he was telling me how they are no longer anything to do with CH2M Hill at Jacobs. And I thought, wow, that's dumb, because what a great name.
Yeah.
CH2M Hill, it sounds like some chemical compound.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, what the hell is that? I mean, have a different name, be different, have your stuff look different, have different graphic image from every other firm. There's just a million different ways that you can look different. Look at your website. Do you have mug shots of everybody, or do you have candid photos of all your people? I mean, what are you doing differently?
Yeah.
Go to Kit Miyamoto's site. He's got pictures of little Haitian kids in the school that they rebuilt with smiles on their face. Instead of, here is another building we did a seismic retrofit on. Not that may not be there too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, what structural engineers have you been on their websites where when they talk about their work, they show people?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. Okay?
Yeah.
Be different.
That sets you apart for sure. And I think with marketing to me, and we've mentioned all these different areas, and in each one of these, a firm could really take some time and go deep in. But marketing is one of those areas that a firm can focus on early and often and get the biggest bang for their buck in terms of what they're doing. They can make some minuscule changes. They can, change up what their website looks like. They can do some research on colors and, how colors make people feel and how they may want to modify the color of their organization in terms of looking at that. Cause there's some psychology behind that, in terms of the use of color from a marketing perspective. So, there's a lot that goes into that process. And I think that you as an organization, if you're not a decision maker in your firm, maybe figure out ways to broaden the horizons of the leadership by giving them examples of what really attracts you in the marketplace. Maybe do some very focused studies where you get some feedback from some of your key clients about how you are portrayed in the marketplace and what they think about your firm, just to get some information and ideas that can help further the plans that you might have to employ to change your marketing across the board. So yeah, it's not hard, but it's definitely something worth considering. What else, as we close out on this particular topic, what else, Mark, could you think of that would be, just something that's kind of overlooked and maybe it's, I don't know what, but I know that you've seen permutations of a lot of different firms throughout the years that have changed and that had made a difference for themselves. But what one thing stands out in your mind that is something that can really just can really be a difference maker for an organization in the design space?
Well, better. This will sound silly. Most companies are local or regional in nature.
Yep.
And that's just the reality of what they do. Why do they all have freaking white vehicles with either black or blue lettering on them?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
You go to a construction site, you can't tell. Everybody's truck looks exactly the same, whatever.
Right.
It's so boring, okay? Do something different. Paint yours light purple.
Right.
Paint yours bright green. Paint them bright blue.
Yeah.
Put a giant logo and name on them. Do it tastefully, but brand them. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not? We have some clients, they listened to my advice and they painted all their vehicles silver. I'm like, good Lord, if there is another color that is a non-color besides white, it's freaking silver. Okay. They look different than everybody else. Oh, they look radically different. Okay.
Yeah.
Silver wasn't what I had in mind either.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to be bold and then just doing that. I did that once with a client of mine. We had him paint he had about 50 vehicles. It was an environmental consulting firm. I can't remember if it was either purple or light green. It was one of the two. I told the guy to do it. He thought I was crazy. And then 6 months later, he called me up out of the blue and said, listen, I listened to you. I did what you suggested. In we are getting an unbelievable reaction to it.
Really?
Calls every day saying, I saw you guys over there. You must be unbelievably busy. You're everywhere.
Right.
Whereas before, nobody noticed them.
No.
Okay.
No.
Now they were just more desirable because they were more successful.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't do it.
Yeah, you could see 100 white Priuses ride by, but if you saw a purple neon Prius ride by, you would remember that. I mean, it would stand out in your mind. So,
or maybe it's not a Prius.
Well, I mean, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah, maybe you drive Fiats or some damn thing.
Yeah.
We had one client once that bought all vintage cars. David Evans, DEA in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
One year he decided he was getting rid of all his Honda Accords, and we had Accords at the same time. I'll never forget this. It was in the 90s, and early 90s, we had Honda Accord company cars. But anyway, he went and bought himself like Studebaker Avantis and old T-Birds and stuff. And he said, why not be different?
Yeah.
Now he had a lot of broken down old cars in his parking deck because old cars break. Trust me, I know. I got put down this weekend by my Lincoln convertible. But I did figure out what was wrong with it.
Oh, good.
But anyway, it's he just said we're just going to look different.
Yeah.
And they grew like crazy.
They did. They're huge.
Successful.
Yeah, they are huge. So,
but we can go get the white F-150 and just be like everybody else.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, Mark has definitely gotten a ton of ideas. I know there are other stories that he would love to share, but that just gives you a little snippet into the mind of Mark Zweig and ways that you, as a design firm owner or leader or just as a manager at a design firm, how you can work out ways to differentiate yourself in what is definitely a crowded field here in the design industry. So again, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. We really enjoy having you guys come and hang out with us on a weekly basis. Remember, this podcast comes out at 12 noon every Friday, thereabouts. And as we get closer to the summer season, we're going to have a summer podcast schedule that I'll be letting you know about in the next couple of weeks here. But that will be for the months of July and August. And have no fear, we will have great content coming for you. It won't be any delay in the great information that we have available for you. Also want to offer up to you a free subscription to the Zweig Letter. That's right. We give things away for free here. So I have for you, you can get it right in your inbox every Monday morning or every Monday at 12 noon, a copy of the Zweig Letter. The Zweig Letter is 12 pages of some of the best content for the design industry. It comes out 48 weeks a year. And we have some outstanding writers, both here internally at Zweig Group, as well as we've pulled in some of the best industry leaders to talk about the design industry from an architectural, from an engineering, from an environmental consulting, from a planning standpoint, and kind of just walk you through some of the best things happening in our industry overall. And there's some really great writing taking place in the Zweig Letter. Richard Massey's done an outstanding job as the editor of the Zweig Letter, and we certainly encourage you to check it out. You can visit zweiggroup.com and just click on the Zweig Letter icon, and right there you can register. All we need is your email address. There will be no spam. Trust me when I say this, you'll get the PDF of the Zweig Letter digitally in your email inbox every Monday morning. So really want you to take advantage of that. Also want you to check out Z Learning, which is our new online learning platform. You can go to zweiggroup.com/Z Learning and learn about some of the classes that we are offering online. You can take them right on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, wherever you can get Wi-Fi access and log in, you can watch our videos. And we certainly encourage you to check them out. And there are plenty of free videos online to just give you a sample of what we have to offer through Z Learning. So we really appreciate you listening to this podcast today, please share this information with a friend. We'd also appreciate if you could give us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to the Zweig Letter podcast. It's available on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify now. We're also available on Google Play, and pretty much wherever you can find great podcasts, you can find the Zweig Letter podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we really appreciate you. We are trying to elevate this industry to another level, and it will take everything in our power as well as everything in your power to make it happen and take the design industry to the place where it should be. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to this Zweig Letter podcast episode. If you want more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about M&A, strategic planning, HR, and marketing your firm, subscribe now to the digital version of the Zweig Letter free of charge. Just visit thezweigletter.com/subscribe and leave your email address. Your free subscription will begin immediately.